Good morning. My name is Farrokh Mistry, and I'll be moderating this session. The title for this session is A Conversation with Zoroastrian Students with a focus on funding for higher education. Our panelists are Neville Shroff, who is the President and Managing Trustee of the Zoroastrian Association of Zoroastrian Charitable Trust of Hong Kong, Canton, and Macau. J Ravishankar, who is the Director of the J.N. Tata Endowment for Higher Education of Indians. Pereira, who is the Regional Officer for the United States India Educational Foundation, and he also manages the Fulbright Scholarship Program. And Farrokh Rustomjee, who is the Chief Executive of the R.D. Setna Scholarship Fund. Our synthesizer today is Karishma Koka, and this entire webinar is organized under the auspices of the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce, whose mantra is entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond resources controlled. We have planned a series of webinars. In October, we focused on planning where to study. And those of you who may have missed it can go and take a look at the recording at the site that has been shown out here. On November the 28th, we focused on getting the most out of the college experience. Today, we are going to focus on scholarships and funding for higher education. On January the 23rd, our focus is on creating economic, social, and intellectual value. In essence, making the difference between Naukri, getting a job, and studying for a career. On February the 27th, we will focus on how to be happy as a Zoroastrian graduate student away from home. Our intent here is to have a conversation. So it is important for the participants as we are going through the talk to note questions that you would like to ask each of the panelists. So we will have a session that is directed to the panelists and then open it up for general questions. So our plan for the conversation today is what is the webinar all about? I've just done that. Panelist introductions. Each panelist will introduce himself for 2 minutes, and then the panelists will talk for about 10 minutes each, and then we will have a dialogue, and there'll be then closing remarks by a ZFN official panelists. So a little bit about the who we are and what we do. The World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the Zarathustra faculty and academia, envision empowering Zarathustra students to learn how to create economic, cultural, and intellectual value. This is where there's entrepreneurship involved in creating economic value, cultural value, social value, and intellectual value. So the mission of the Zoroastrian Faculty Network is to facilitate Zarathustra youth through higher and specialized education to pursue careers in industry, government, and academia as business entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and knowledge entrepreneurs. So we are looking at a broad spectrum of people. It's not just engineering or the professional things, but also arts, humanities, social sciences, etc. The ZFN webinars are conversations to help Zarathustra youth. And what is very important is with support of their parents to attain higher and specialized education. So it is not just the youth doing it or the parents doing it, but it's together the parents, youth, and the community working to enhance the intellectual capabilities of the Zarathustra students. This initiative has been supported by the R.D. Setna Scholarship Funds. Farrokh Rustomjee is the key person in that, and the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce, ZF funds. And we'll have something more on that later on. So with that, it is my pleasure to welcome Neville Shroff to introduce himself and then to share some thoughts with us. Neville?
Thank you, Farrokh, and good evening or good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I think, do I need to introduce myself, Farrokh? I think you mentioned everything there on the screen.
Please introduce yourself. Yes, please introduce yourself.
Of course. I am, as Farrokh mentioned, the president of the Zoroastrian Charity Funds of Hong Kong, Canton, and Macau. I'm also recently nominated as the vice chairman of the English School Foundation, which is a foundation that incorporates 22 schools in Hong Kong and is the largest international organization of schools in Hong Kong itself. I'm also on the board of the prestigious Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce, as well as Vice Chairman of the Royal Commonwealth Society and Director of the Hong Kong Tuberculosis Chest and Heart Association. I was awarded the Justice of the Peace Award by the Hong Kong government in 2015. And only thing wrong there, Farrokh, is my email address, which still hasn't been corrected. It's nshroff@shroff.com.hk. So if somebody can correct that at some stage. Okay.
Yep.
So you want me to continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. My title line here is the world is your oyster, so grab it. There is no doubt that in 2021 has been yet another challenging year for most of us. And with the new Omicron variant has obviously added to uncertainties, including impacting education prospects for our students in the coming year. However, with challenges also comes opportunities, perhaps in different ways of adapting to studying, like virtual or in hybrid format. Many opportunities, including studying biomedical sciences, healthcare courses, research in medical and bioengineering fields, pharmaceuticals. These are all hot subjects to pursue from learning from the pandemic, and for some time to come. From the business field perspective, there are opportunities in producing medical equipment, protective items, and a chance at university to invent new innovative products. In other words, the world is your oyster. Open it and grab the current up-to-date opportunities available with the new challenging and changing times. Have a futuristic vision to new opportunities that continue to come up, and take advantage of every situation that presents itself. It is up to you and nobody else to know what is your passion and your desire in life. Do your research on which schools are the best fit for your career and know the reasons why you have selected your particular course and if the course is sustainable. For those
Neville, are you there?
Thank you, froze.
Neville?
He's frozen.
So let's move on and we'll come back to him. Ravishankar?
Okay. So, I'm currently the director of the J Endowment, and I used to work with TCS for about 10 years before this. And I spent about 16 years as a lecturer in financial management accounting. I've taught students for chartered accountancy and also the US chartered financial analyst, and done some research writing for a book on Ramnath Goenka, who promoted the Indian Express. I used to be a senior guest faculty at the Xavier Institute of Communication with students of journalism and public relations. I have done some other work, and I now run a website called challengingintelligence.com, where I write on economics, information, data, and innovation. And let's come to my okay. See, the information about the J Endowment is available on our website. So I don't think I'll go through all this because it's complete information is available. Do take a look at that. I would like to speak to you about Why it's not going down? Yeah, this is what I want to speak to you about. This is a highly competitive scholarship. See, should you get this scholarship, you can get a maximum of 10 lakhs of rupees as a loan scholarship, and there is no interest charge. And if you got this scholarship, you also get a travel grant up to 50,000 rupees. And if you did well in your overseas studies, you get a gift which can go up to 7.5 lakhs. So one scholarship you get, you can actually get to other benefits also. So it's worth attempting to get this scholarship, but it is very, very, very competitive scholarship. So this is what I mean by saying that you have to go beyond, see beyond what you're currently doing. And as I said, if you have got a good GRE score, GMAT score, fine, but it's always a question of, is it a good score relative to others? So it may be advisable for you to take a second exam of GRE, GMAT, wherever it is required, so that you have a better score, because that score will give you a better opportunity in the JNTAT endowment. Okay, so I see a question. So our scholarship is for anybody who is a student. Even if you are a mid-career up to 45 years of age, as long as you're a student, you are entitled to get a JNTAT endowment scholarship. Yeah. But since it is competitive, everything depends on how well you put together your message, which is what we normally call as the statement of purpose. So I'm assuming that most of you would have interest in some area of engineering or some area of computers. So I'll take an example and explain. Let us say you're interested in electric vehicles. No, electric vehicles is a very vast subject. So you can't say that I'm interested in electric vehicles and mobility, because everybody will be saying that. But if you were to take one particular aspect of electric vehicles, say for example, battery thermal, and you went into it deeply, and you can explain what is the current state of the technology and what is the future of that particular technology and how that will shape the evolution of electric cars, then you have a much better chance of being read seriously. And even if you're trying to get, say, a research assistant job in a university, a university does not do research into electric vehicles. They do research into specific parts of a research vehicle. Someone will be doing on battery management, somebody will be doing on integration between mechanical and electrical, so it's advisable that you choose an area and study it at fair amount of depth. So you're in sync with current trends and also the trends which are evolving towards the future. That's what people are looking for. Are you in sync with what is happening and the way it is progressing towards something? So then people know that you are serious about what you're doing, and therefore you are someone worth considering. I will just give you one example. A student came to me looking for help. She was playing the harp, and we funded her at one part of the Tata Trust. But the reason we took her seriously, because she bought a harp. She spent her own money and bought a second-hand harp. So we knew she was serious about what she was doing. You have to show people that you are serious about what you're doing. There are lots of people saying the same thing. So one of the things is to pay attention to how well you are saying something and how different it is from what others are saying. Yeah. So I'll keep going back to this. So preferably, let us again take another example, say machine learning. If you're interested in, many students are interested in machine learning. Narrow it down to a particular area, say fraud detection. Look at what is being done by several universities. From amongst that, find out something that appeals to you. Check which universities are doing it. Find out the professor who is doing that work. Get in touch with that professor. Tell him why you can be a part of that, how you can add value to that project. Then the professor is willing to consider you for a research assistantship job, which will help you subsidize part of your fees, part of your living expenses. So everything for me at least comes back to understanding what you're currently interested in, but to see beyond. It is that see beyond which will distinguish you from every other student. Yeah. The interview process in J&T endowment is extremely rigorous. It lasts about 30 to 40 minutes. The director of the endowment and the subject expert both together. You will not be able to get away by just giving some superficial answers, but they will pin you down. It can be a very intimidating and a formidable experience, but if you are prepared, you will do very well. Yeah, I will stop here and I will respond as people ask questions. Yeah? Thank you very much.
So we will be going back to Neville, who's back with us now.
Can you hear
Go ahead.
me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So what basically I was saying was that to do your research on the school that you want to be in, location is absolutely critical. As I mentioned, I don't know if you heard, but my son went to Durham University, got a scholarship there. But when he ended up there, his first day, all he saw out of his halls of residence were fields and cows. And he rang his mother up and says, I want to come home, because he's a city boy and he could only see fields and cows. The next day he got into a cricket match and he was okay. So location is critical. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere. So you know you're going to have to spend the next couple of years of your life there. So make sure that you know where you're going. The next most important thing is to investigate the expected living costs and the length of your course and the approximate total annual costs, as all this relates to the funding that you will need and can expect to receive from loans or scholarships. You will need to work around the cost that is practical and workable for you and your family. Only then can you prioritize and list an order of preferences based on some of the criteria I've just mentioned. Cost is usually a primary factor for most families. For my trust in Hong Kong, we are passionate to expand educational support to students in need, and particularly to low and middle class income families. The reason for this is that we stress on having an educated workforce within our Zoroastrian community who can ultimately contribute to the success within our community and eventually alleviate it from poverty. As an educated individual with improved skills and knowledge in our workforce, you will most likely increase your chances of obtaining a good job and, of course, a better pay. Thus, funding education and supporting knowledge is the only way we can see in breaking the cycle of poverty and subsequently providing respectable living conditions to many Zoroastrian families. I say this, and that is because our trust is supporting families with increasing and growing economic and financial distress. And the only sustainable way out is to provide a solid education for their children. Our trust is very versatile and not only supporting funding education. Ours is a general charity, which then gives us a broader picture of the reality within the Zoroastrian diaspora. Currently, we are supporting many, many low-income families just to put food on their table. But we could be so much more productive if they would come to us and ask us to help support their child's education. Hence, this is the reason our trust will focus on education of our youth so they can eventually help themselves and ultimately their families. I am aware that this forum is on how to get funding for higher education, postgraduates and specifically in sciences, engineering, and the so-called intellectual studies and professions. So I'm going to ask Farrokh to indulge me and allow me to say more on what I feel passionate about. And that is to say that there's more to education than just academic results. I am looking at an all-round education, including vocational training. For example, there are great needs for plumbers, electricians, mechanics, all kinds of technicians, and the list goes on. There are career opportunities in music, in the arts, culture, and so forth, which we should give equal emphasis to. Our education funding from Hong Kong currently is almost focused on postgraduate education, but is not limited to that alone. I would like to provide a broader all-round education, so do please approach us for any field that would be sustainable for you. Our criteria are relatively simple in comparison to many educational trusts. Firstly, the student should be of Zoroastrian heritage, preferably under the age of 30. Already have applied and be accepted by a university or an educational institution abroad or in India. We normally support for up to 2 years, except for medicine and dentistry. You need to apply at least 3 months before attending the university. Funds are usually sent directly to the university concerned, and only in the event that the funds have been remitted prior to applying to us and the evidence so produced, only then will we remit it to the parents. Loans are given depending on the countries. For example, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we give $5,000 in their own currency. UK and Europe, we give £4,000 or 4,000 euros respectively. These are loans that need to be repaid. We do not normally support students who are residing in their countries. So if residing, for example, in the USA, then we would expect that their own organizations would lend a helping hand to their own students. We have failed in our responsibility towards a broader all-round education if we only fund a select group of students, and then possibly risk social economic issues for the families and for our future generations. Our aim in Hong Kong is to provide an educational pathway to a career that is steady and sustainable, so they can eventually support themselves and support their families. We have no limit on the numbers we can help and fund, but we need them to apply to us, and only then can we vet them and do the needful. I would like to conclude by saying that I recently gave a graduation speech to students progressing to university. Some of the points that I mentioned may be of value to carry into your future. One was on communication. The art of communication is vital to your success at university, whether it is in securing a job, in your workplace, and with your family and friends. It does not matter which career pathway you opt for, but if you cannot communicate effectively and with integrity, then you will lose self-respect and credibility. When I look for somebody to fill a position in my business and office, I will not only look at his academic qualifications for the role, but how articulate he is at conveying to me that he or she should be my choice. In a way, they need to sell themselves and convince me that they are the best, and not on paper alone, but how well you come across verbally. The strong communication skills you develop now and at university will distinguish you from your competition and give you that all-important edge. So learn to communicate. It is really critical. One of the other points that I mentioned in my speech to the graduates, and I hope you will take this with you in life, is giving back. Most of you will be getting some sort of loan or scholarship and help in some form from an outside source. So when you are high achievers and you do become successful in your future, which I'm sure you will be, then my sincere wish would be that you remember to give something back to society. It does not have to be monetary. It could be giving your time to assist others who are in need. On that note, I shall stop, but only to say that we are here to help you secure educational funding for the course that you are passionate to pursue. My email contact is on the slide, and I'll be happy to take questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Neville.
Thank you so much, Farrokh. It's always
Ryan,
yes,
welcome.
it's
Please
always
continue.
such a challenge going after such a great speaker like Neville, but I'm going to do my best. My name is Ryan Pereira. I'm the regional officer at the United States India Educational Foundation, which is the Fulbright Commission in India. And I look after the Fulbright fellowships for Western India. And I also represent Education USA, which is the US Department of State supported body to guide students who are interested in pursuing higher studies in the United States. So I wear both those hats. My background is a little different from most. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, where I studied at St. Xavier's College. I then went to the US and got my doctorate at Ohio State University, followed by my postdoc and research at Cornell. And then we took my wife and I took a decision that a lot of people told us was wrong. We decided to come back to raise our daughter in India. Best decision we ever took, by the way. Just telling all that right now. And I've been with the Fulbright Commission for 10 years now, ever since we came back from India, from the US. So I'm here to talk to you all a little bit about the Fulbright fellowships and what they are. And my tagline that I chose is, you miss 100% of the shots you do not take. This is a sports reference. It's by the great ice hockey player Wayne Gretzky, who was asked, why does he score so many goals? And he said, hey, I miss 100% of the shots I do not take. Okay, so keep that in mind. And I'll talk a little bit about why that makes sense in just a minute. So as I mentioned, and the question was, please talk about who's eligible to apply for these fellowships. So the Fulbright fellowships that are offered by my organization, the United States India Educational Foundation, are only for Indian citizens wanting to do some advanced training or advanced study in the US. There are other Fulbright other Fulbright commissions. The Fulbright programs run in 170 countries. So if there's no Fulbright commission there, like the binational organization like we are, it's run out of the US Embassy. So you can just, if you're from a different country, just get in touch with them to get an understanding of the procedures and what is offered in that particular country. So I'm going to talk a bit about some of the fellowships that we have that might be of interest to students. The first is the Fulbright Nehru Masters Fellowship. So this is meant for those who have completed the equivalent of a 4-year undergraduate degree. So it's usually the engineers or people who've done a double major at the undergraduate program now in India. So this fellowship will support up to $80,000 for your tuition and living over the 2 years. So you can almost get the full master's degree in the US for free if you get this fellowship. The fields that are supported are limited. There are 10 of them right now: the arts and culture, higher education, environmental science, urban and regional planning. So that's the architecture students, the women and gender studies, economics, international legal studies. That's the LLM programs. I know there was one law student in the introduction. International affairs, public health, and public administration. Now these fields are decided by the board of directors from the US government and the Indian government. The deadline to apply for this is going to be May 15, 2022. The call for applications for the Fulbright Nehru Fellowships will probably be made in January 2022. Next slide. So if you're a doctoral student at an Indian university, the question is about the IT. Is IT supported? Unfortunately, IT is not supported at the master's level, but cybersecurity is supported at the doctoral level. So the Fulbright Nehru doctoral fellowships are meant for students who are currently pursuing their PhD in an Indian institute, and it gives them the opportunity to go to the US for 6 to 9 months. They should have registered at the Indian Institute by September 1, 2021. And the application deadline is 15th of July, 2022. So at the doctoral levels and the faculty levels, the range of fields that are supported is much, much wider. As I mentioned, the master's has just 10 fields. Here you have a wide range of fields, and you have computer science, especially cybersecurity and big data included in this. So this is a good one because you get the exposure, 6 to 9 month exposure in the US. And with that exposure, you can then work on building your contacts for your postdoctoral work, both in the US or elsewhere. We've had a lot of people go to the UK for their postdoc as well, based on their contacts they've made in the US. So there are, as I mentioned, multiple fields available. And even if your field is not mentioned, doesn't mean you cannot apply. It's all, what you need to do is you need to select one of the fields that is on this list in your application, and then explain how your research project fits into this field. Okay, so keep that in mind. Just because you're doing material science is there, or something that's not very apparent on this list, you can still apply. We have people applying from very different fields, but the project, it's always, and I think both Ravishankar mentioned this in his talk about how you write the essay. It's always about how you spin your story. You can have your project fit into a wide range of fields. It's always about how you spin it. Next slide. So the application process for the Fulbright fellowships is like what Ravishankar mentioned. It's a very competitive program, and the application process itself takes 1 year. And so we are accepting, when we open the applications in January 2022, it's for those people interested in going in August 2023. And the process is that we may put out a call for applications. We receive the applications. We'll then review the applications. The applications are then sent to 2 subject experts who will look at them and grade them. And the top people, the top grade, will be called for an in-person interview in Delhi. And based on the performance at the interview, they will be offered the fellowships. And once the fellowship is confirmed, then we'll work on getting the documents from our counterpart in the US and apply for the J1 visa. So we take care of everything. You need to apply for it. Okay. Next slide. So I did mention that it's a very competitive program, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the numbers on my last slide. But what is it that we look for? It's very similar to what Ravishankar was talking about. We do look at merit, okay, the academic credentials and the professional ability. That's really, really important. But it's not the only thing we look at. We're going to look at the project and what is the impact of the project, and what is the impact for the project, not just for yourself. How is it going to impact the US, and how is it going to impact India? Because that's where the funding is coming from. Okay. We're also going to look at Why do you need to do this research in the US? Or why do you need to do this master's in the US itself? Okay. We're going to look at the motivation. We're going to look at, do you have the wherewithal to complete this project on time? Okay. And something that's very unique to the Fulbright fellowships is when you go on when you're a Fulbright scholar, you're also a cultural ambassador. So how are you going to share your Indian culture when you're in the US? That's given significant importance in our selection. So you need to be able to address it. Don't just say, oh, I'm such a bright student, I'm going to get this. No, I can tell you that I sat in, I'm a non-voting member, but I do sit in on these selections and interviews. And people who have very, very good, strong applications, they don't do that well on the interview. And it brings us back to something that Neville spoke about, art of communication. It's really, really important. And here we see it helps you get the fellowship. Okay, so communications is very important, and the commitment to the community and the national service. And that ties in with the goal of the Zoroastrian community as well. Next slide. So this is my final slide. Just talking about where we get our people from, where we get the applications and where they're selected from. They're selected from all across India. We give slight preference to applicants from underrepresented states like the Northeast, Chhattisgarh, states like that. We also are try our very best to give equal representation to women. So about 50% of the scholarships will go to women. And in terms of the percentage of people who actually get it, you can see the numbers there. We received 1,500 applications and we gave about 155 awards. So there's a 10% chance of getting it. And that brings me back to my tagline. The Fulbright fellowships are competitive, but if you do not put in the applications, I can guarantee you're not going to get the Fulbright fellowship. Okay? So you have to try. Not saying you're going to get it, but you have to try for this. It's a very, very prestigious fellowship. And if you get it, it's going to go a long way to helping your career and later your community as well. So thank you very much. And I'll be happy to take questions towards the end of this.
Thank you very much, Ryan. It was really nice the way in which you connected to both Ravishankar and Neville. And now I call on Farrokh Rustomjee to continue the dialogue, continue seeding the dialogue. Farrokh?
Thank you, Farrokh. I would like to talk about the scholarship program of the R.D. Setna Scholarship Fund, which has been one of India's oldest and most well-respected loan scholarship programs, assisting outstanding and deserving students of all communities. The loan scholarship program was established as far back as 1938, after the demise of Rustom D. Ganjiboy Setna. He was a Parsi Indian philanthropist, and his approach was that during his lifetime, he wanted to set up a scholarship program which was directed to specific cause of higher education for the promotion and encouragement of scientific, technical, and industrial instruction or education in ways beneficial to society. After his demise, the philanthropy lives on, as reflected in the work of R.D. Setna Scholarship Fund. The program encapsulates the noble ideals of Mr. Setna for granting financial assistance to Indian students to broaden their academic interest and in turn benefit the nation. The scholarships are we feel that the scholarships are investments in young citizens to empower them to pursue their academic interests and careers. These are all loan scholarships and are granted on the basis of meritorious performance, and we facilitate payment of institution fees, tuition fees, academic material, and related expenses for the enhancement of education experience. Our office is located in Mumbai, and we accept applications from all over India. It was during the pandemic situation that we created an opportunity for students to apply online. And therefore, we created a website, which is now progressing very well, and students' applications are received and processed online, thereby limiting the traveling problems, the contact problems, and all those kind of problems associated with the COVID situation. Further, we have also relaxed our timeline. Earlier, we were granting scholarship application forms only for a certain period in the year. But now we have relaxed that system, and you can apply online as and when you want, but you must apply in details and also pay the processing fee, the form fee online. And then we will take care of all the administrative work. Everything is done online, so you need not visit our office. We generally give scholarships for studies in technical, medical, and other fields which are which have very high fees, and we try to support as much as we can. We give about 10 to 15 lakhs per student, and this loan scholarship bears a 2% interest and is payable after they complete their studies and after they have started earning, and after 1 year the repayment program starts. We take a guarantor also for the loan scholarship amount that we grant, just to make sure that the trust receives its full funding which is given to the student. The important thing is that the student should be an Indian citizen, need not be specifically residing in Mumbai, because we accept applications from all over India. And it's one of the most easy programs to log into, to apply, and we hope we get many more students to apply and can help them as well. As a collateral security, we take an insurance policy from the Life Insurance Corporation of India or the Tata AIG General Insurance Company. And those policies are assigned to the trust, and the premiums are paid by the students as and when they are due. This is a guarantee and a protection process whereby we protect our funds to help more and more students get the benefit of it. So I request all of you, if you have any further questions, do log into our website and write to us, and we will take care of all the problems financially faced by you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Farrokh.
Further, I would like to add that a complete list of scholarship programs is also available on the Zoroastrian Faculty Network website. So any student can log into it, look at all the trusts that grant scholarship, and take the benefit they feel best. Thank you.
Thank you, Farrokh. So now I invite Karishma Koka to introduce herself and to synthesize what has been presented by our four panelists.
Thank you very much, Farrokh Mistry. Gratitude to the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce for putting us all together to share this knowledge and build a dialogue with future students. The speakers today have demonstrated themselves how they have given back time today on a Sunday afternoon to all of us. And we hope this will reach so many students to make it all worthwhile. I'm in London in the United Kingdom, and my background is a PhD in neuroscience from the University of Cambridge on the Cambridge Nehru and British government Shielding scholarships, a Master of Research at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, fully funded, and a BSc in chemistry, biology, and neuroscience. My position is in learning and development. where I've co-founded the Ultimate Achievements Academy with my mother, and we work both with students and with executives. The path really is empowerment through education and bringing people together for the greater good of all. Please start filling the chat box with your questions for clarification, addressing it to specific speakers if you'd like, and also giving your suggestions and what you would like from this dialogue. Our speakers' key points have been generally around the ideas of identifying value, evaluating, and then taking action for the good of oneself to grow, and then giving back to the society where we live and the global community. Their ideas were very clear: to appreciate the vision of the scholarship funder so that we can align what we would like to do with what they would like to fund. For that, it is important to study the prompts, to tabulate very carefully and align what we want with what they have to offer, and demonstrate clear reasoning so that when it comes to interviews, this can be communicated clearly. For the statement of purpose, as I see it, it's about outlining the actions we have taken, both for our grades and our extracurricular activities and our community activities, together with how we can study well and then apply that knowledge to converting challenges into opportunities and succeeding. And sometimes continuing what we need to do and getting the best grade we can. And then showing our strategies for how we will grow and add value, both immediately and long-term, with a very clear vision that incorporates ability, agility, strategizing, and being specific. Thus, what our panelists have guided us is how the course will prepare us to build on our passion is important. And as Professor Mistry said, it is about preparing to take up a job and about the entrepreneurial ventures we will take up, initiate, and innovate in order to add values to the lives of others. Most importantly, because a scholarship and our first degree or our second degree is about long-term goals and how we will contribute and help others to contribute, it really is about being investable and building that credibility. So we all need to think about repaying the loans we take, or if it is a full scholarship, contributing to the scholarship body in some way. In the next slide, let's put together some of the thoughts that our speakers have given us. They have sown the seeds to facilitate a dialogue. So continue putting your questions in the chat box, please. At the Zoroastrian Faculty Network, we are focusing upon education, entrepreneurship, and empowerment to go with the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce theme of industry and integrity. This industry is not just corporate industry, but being industrious. So it's about economic, social, and intellectual value within us and what we can contribute around us throughout our life in all different ways. So Neville talked about sustainable development and much more. He said, the world is your oyster, grab it. He talked about education with passion and how to take up sustainable opportunities to convert challenge to opportunity through inventing and innovating while knowing where we are going and contributing to the success of the community. As he invests in people, that investment is not just for the person and for their funding and education towards building knowledge, but also for the whole community at large. And he stressed clearly, as our other speakers did, on communication and integrity. J Ravishankar talked about the J.N. Tata Endowment. The key is commitment and vision that he has in his life and how he has adapted to taking this further to helping all of us. And his tagline was to see beyond. He talked about the statement of purpose being unique to the individual. He talked about the skills test and the interview, which boiled down to knowing oneself. He also said it's about evolving towards the future and being very prepared to do well. And to know how to do well, we also need to ask. So he said, get in touch with them, ask. Ryan Pereira took this a further step forward. He said, We miss 100% of the chances we do not take. And he referred to the sports analogy of taking a shot in ice hockey.
No doubt.
He talked about the timeline, being well prepared and being able to have that exposure maybe in a foreign country. But then how does it fit in with that country and with the country one comes from? So that the impact of the project is about having an impact in society, not just within the field that project is designed within. He said motivation is needed, but skills are needed. We need to be prepared to take advantage of the opportunities offered to us and the investment put into us. And also the student is a cultural ambassador. This is true for many scholarships. For the Cambridge Nehru Scholarship, where I was able to study, this is very, very true. And the commitment to community and the nation, that long-term goal, that desire to belong and contribute is very important to the funders. Farrokh Rustomjee then nailed it. His goal is to empower others. And his tagline was, education leads to empowerment. This empowerment is so that not just benefits the individual, but also benefits society. In other words, they would like to select investable, well-backed students who can provide a guarantee. And these students go on to benefit society, go on to contribute long-term. So let's look at this now in a slightly bigger picture. In Asho Zarathustra's Gathas, it said, listen, reflect, decide, and then take action. This action is then well investable, not just with one's own time, but with the time and finances and intent of the others who then back these projects, who then back us as individuals, so that we can add economic, social, and intellectual value, as the Zoroastrian Faculty Network has it at its core. We then build knowledge and wisdom, as all our panelists have indicated. In the Zarathushti Dhyana, the consciousness, this is both innate and acquired, so that with the good mind, we can continue to build knowledge and learning based upon truth and order and purity, to get desirable strength, which leads to power, not just within ourselves, but within ourselves so that we can reflect it in our surroundings and help others develop such qualities. And this goes with benevolence, devotion, and being able to invest in others so that we can all, both internally and externally, achieve holistic perfection that sustains through time. So that this knowledge that we process in light of what is true leads to progressive action, sustainable development with, as the WZCC focuses on, integrity and industriousness. Thank you very much for listening. I will now hand back to Professor Farrokh Mistry to take us through the questions.
Thank you, Karishma. And we are now open for questions for the panelists. So please direct the questions for clarification to the panelists, and we'll take it from there. So Karishma, what do we have out here?
We have one question from Roche. It says, Karishma Koka, do you have an initiative of hand-holding a student for a while to enable the student to select the right course to study abroad, so that a meaningful and successful education is received? Thank you, Roche.
So who do we direct this to?
Could we take this to Neville first, and then each of our speakers may like to add on so that they can talk about how the student needs to be well prepared without necessitating hand-holding possibly?
I think hand-holding for us is not applicable. What we do and what we can do is we can advise the student what we feel that they need to do. Is this from the from the perspective of funding, or is this from the perspective of educational training, or
Rosh,
is
I'd like
the-
you to turn your camera on, if you could, please, to have a dialogue with our panelists. Neville, he's asking about choosing the course. And from what you have guided, what you're looking for is a person who can communicate their ideas very clearly and knows oneself, so that they can then survive in this rather difficult environment by adapting. Rosh says choosing a course.
Okay, well, obviously choosing a course is a very personal and individual thing. I mean, it's a question of whether, you know, what you would like to do in your life in future. Myself, if I'm speaking for myself, I trained as a scientist. So I studied science, but then I went and did a business course later on because I found it more lucrative, so to speak. But my passion today is still science. So I still keep up with, you know, my personal ideas. So what I would advise the student to do is to be led by what he feels is what he would like to do in life, and to pursue it from that perspective. There is so much open out there now, and the world is changing constantly. So I think, you know, the student needs to engage in his own feelings and his own mindset as to what he perceives as his future goals to be. We
Thank
can
you,
advise him. We can advise him, but that's about it. But basically, it's his decision alone, right?
Thank you, Neville. I think Ryan was nodding during this. Shall we
Yes.
hand it to Ryan, Farrokh?
Yes.
I like that question because, as I mentioned, one of my other hats that I wear is as an education advisor. But as an education advisor, I have to go with what Neville said, is we can advise the student on the process, but whether the career or what the choice is, nobody knows the student better than the student themselves. So they need to invest some time, think about, do what we tell students is the first step in this process isn't about looking for universities or looking for financial aid. It's always about doing a self-evaluation. What are your interests? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What skills do you want to pursue? And then start looking for a course that will help achieve that, give you those skills. And only then you can look, okay, which university will give me that? So don't think so much about best universities, this, that, and the other. Step back, look at yourself and understand yourself. And then there is so much of resource in the ZFN who can guide you. Hold your, we don't like hand holding, okay? We want people to be independent. If you want some advice, that's always available. And USA will also do that for you. But we want people to be independent. And the reason for that is when you get, and we have some of the students who are currently studying in the US, when you get to the US, nobody's going to be holding your hand. You're expected to do things on your own. So you might as well start learning how to do that right now when you have that support system with you.
Thank you.
Karishma,
Go ahead, Ravi.
I just, perhaps the word handholding is inappropriate. Maybe we should drop, even the student should drop the word. What I see in my experience is there is such a lot of clutter today in the media. The children are making wrong choices based on, there's so much of cacophony. Take, for example, something like big data analytics. No one knows a squat about what the hell is big data analytics. No one knows a squat. No one knows a squat about something called as, what, the latest one, some technology called as, see, the problem with students is that they fall a prey to all the verbiage that goes on in the world. Yeah, some of them are actively sponsored by technology companies because it is their interest to promote certain disciplines. Now, question is not about handholding. The question is creating an awareness, exposing a student to what is available. So, for example, say supposing a student tells me I'm interested in artificial intelligence. We always ask him, so what do you mean by artificial intelligence? And what part of artificial intelligence are you really interested in? So if it is say robotics, it's again a meaningless word. So then we ask them, are you interested in a wheeled robot? Are you interested in a legged robot? Are you looking at a four-wheeled robot, a two-wheeled robot? Are you looking at vertical mobility? What motion are you looking at? What is their area of application? Are you looking to help people who are assisted living? So very specifically, then the student says, oh, I never thought of that. So for example, so then we direct them, okay, no, this person is doing research only in eye movement, a robot which responds to eye movement. Our duty as teachers, I mean, I've been a teacher, and even as a scholarship provider, even in the interview process, even if it's a PhD student, I take it as my duty to widen the student's horizon. That's all. My job is to explain. So because children are falling a prey. I mean, I can't mention, you're an open protocol. There are global universities which are manufacturing courses. And this is wrong, it's unethical. But students are falling a prey to some stupid one-year course, a useless master where they spend about 30-35 lakhs and go nowhere. No, unfortunately,
Thank you very much, Ravishankarji.
so our duty is to increase the level of exposure. It is then left for them to decide.
Lovely. Farrokh, may we hand over to Farrokh Rustomjee?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, most of the time the students come to us and ask us which is a good university to do a particular course and what will it cost, how much money will you give us? And these are the types of general questions that we get from students on the phone or when they visit our office. And we do guide them. We also provide them a list of opportunities available for a particular course, not only in India, but also abroad. And we also inform them about the funding funds available, where they can apply, and how they should structure their application. And the important thing that we ask them is to write down your thoughts, whatever thoughts you have, whatever information that you require, do that exercise and come back to us after you have searched on the web, after you have finalized your course by talking to the parents or to teachers or whoever the mentors were in the past, and then do come back to us, because we also have students who have passed through us and are occupying positions in academy and business and social institutes also, who can guide them. And if required, we ask them to help a particular student. That's how we structure our program.
Thank you. I'd like to add, Khushi, the question you've posed is very fine. And the answer that I would like to give you is the following. It is between the parent and the child. The parent and the child have to work together to figure out what is right for that particular child. You don't go along and say, I want my child to earn this much money, therefore this child needs to be a mechanical engineer or a doctor or a lawyer. But from the very beginning, to expose the child to many different opportunities, and then see what the reaction of the child is to that opportunity. And then as a family grow. And so it's really thinking in terms of who you are, what you are, knowing yourself. And nobody can tell you who you are, what you're going to do, because you'll never be happy doing something that somebody else has told you to do. So my answer to you is that it's parenting, it's Zoroastrian parenting that needs to be thought about. And in our religion, we are told that we have to think we have to observe, we have to reflect, and then take action. And so part of the observation is looking within yourself, looking within your family, looking within who you are and what you are and what you wish to give back to people. So that is my answer. So with that, any other comments or question for the panelists? Thank you, Khushi. That was a lovely question to get it going. All right. In which case, then, I'm going to invite Aisha to...
Farrokh,
yeah, go ahead.
I think Mr. Alair is raising his voice.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. My question is for Mr. Ravishankar and other, they said that a scholarship is for Indians. When you say that for Indians, you mean only Parsis or
No, no.
everybody? That's
Giant data is open to everybody.
The Fulbright
For
fellowships
everybody.
are the Fulbright fellowships are
All
also
Indians.
open to everybody.
Even
Okay,
RD
thanks.
scholarships are for everybody.
Thank you very much. And then my comment is, I wish we had such a thing in Iran, frankly. There are many students that they cannot afford higher education. And then that gives us an incentive of doing that. This is excellent program. And we are hoping that to do the best we can for the Iranian Zoroastrian also, that they are not capable of paying tuition fees. And that was excellent program. Thank you very much.
Great, Mernas. Short comment, go ahead.
Hi. My question is, I've put that in the chat, but my question is, usually most scholarships are designed, especially like gentleman mentioned about, with higher fees in engineering and sciences. How open are scholarship funds to courses like the visual arts, where film or cinematography or design? Are you open to students doing undergraduate courses in these subjects and giving scholarships for these subjects in undergraduation?
Giant data does not fund undergrad. We only fund masters.
Do you give scholarships for undergraduation courses in design?
No, not
and
in
filmmaking,
but graduate courses.
Graduate course, yeah. Sorry,
Masters,
graduate.
PhD, and postdoc.
Yeah,
Whatever
post-12.
we don't discriminate.
Okay, all right.
The Fulbright fellowship also is meant primarily for those looking for masters and higher, and it's in any field of that I mentioned.
Okay.
RD Setna scholarships are also open for courses which you mentioned, and we do fund them.
That is even after the 12th.
It's at the college and university level.
Okay, all right.
Not
Thank
the
you.
school level.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolly, you've raised your hand.
I wanted to mention a few things about the Fezana scholarship which we have, and if some people have some ideas that this scholarship is only open to students in North America, which is not true. And I would like to reassure my friend Aliyar that we do get a lot of applications from Iran, which we do fund. And although the Fezana scholarships, at the moment we have about 26 scholarships in academics and about 7 scholarships for performing arts and culinary arts, and 1 scholarship for sports, which we are trying to redesign that scholarship. But I think those scholarships are not for the full academic finances, but we give them stipends to be able to go through a part of their thing. Our maximum scholarship is $10,000, and the minimum is $1,000. And it is based on, it's a very competitive scholarships. This year we got 99 applications, for which we were only able to sponsor 26 applications. That's the amount of academic scholarships which we have. So it is a big, it is very competitive. It is judged by independent at arm's length judges. And so there is no overlap of anything. And we expect people, it's a full scholarship, there's no loan over them. So we do expect people, we hope, not only expect, we hope that they would give back to the community what they have received, either in kind or in services. And it has happened because many of our students who have received scholarships have given back and been our judges, because there's judges by two different sets of judges for the undergraduate scholarships and for the graduate scholarships. We have 2 different sets, because the level of applications are quite different, and the level of involvement in the academic world is quite different, so we judge them separately. And so we have 11 graduate scholarships and 13 undergraduate scholarships, which altogether comes to 26. It's not a big amount, but still it's something. We started in 1998 with only 2 scholarships of $100 each. And now we have gone up to about $10,000 each, because we are thankful to all the donors, who have been donating and endowing scholarships for X number of years, you know. So I wanted to inform you that some people in India have a idea that the scholarships are only open to people in North America. They have to be studying in North America. We can't give a scholarship to somebody studying in India or somebody scholar in Australia or England. They have to be studying either in USA or in Canada. And they have to be, the foreign students should be in the country or in the university course for at least 1 year, so that we know that they are legitimate and they're there forever, because we have had students who have come and then gone away and disappeared, you know. So we have to be a bit careful about that. So I wanted to show people that.
Okay, darling, you've said your bit. Thank you.
Is it 10,000 per year, Auntie?
Yes. No. The scholarships is only for 1 year, renewable for a second year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Khurshid, yes, quick, because we have to move on.
It's okay for Mr. Farrokh, I can speak later. It's okay. I just wanted to respond to something that Dolly said, but that's okay. Oh, let's move on, and then, you know, I'm sure there's time later. Thank you.
Thank you. So I now invite Aisha to the next phase of our preparation. And Aisha, if you would invite our three young panelists, Karen Pitawala, Zain Pitawala, and Bispi Karkaria, to pose questions to the panelists.
So thank you everyone for the wonderful talk. I think there was some really important and valuable information shared. I know that Vispi has to leave soon, so I'm going to ask Vispi to ask one of his questions. These are students who have been involved with the ZFN, and they had some questions about the speakers today. So Vispi, are you there?
Yes, I'm over here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Ask question 3, because I think question 4 has been already answered, and the others also.
Sure. So my question is directed towards Mr. Neville Shroff. So I wanted to know that to what extent do we take extracurricular and social projects into account when deciding about the funds?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Because I was disconnected as well.
Yes, you can.
Hello? You can? Hello?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes, certainly. We in Hong Kong do not only focus on the academic performance. We like to know what other extracurricular activities the student entails. For example, if you cricket, rugby, any kind of sports is a big plus. We look at that. We look at all projects that you've done, for the community, for at large, or in any aspect. If you're doing any work for the community, be it social work or anything else that you might want to do. Yeah, we look at all these factors when we make a decision on supporting a student. So for our academic and high competitiveness in the academic field, but how you actually have an all-round education is critical for us in making us out our loans. And we do give out loans to, we do not restrict ourselves to USA or UK. We provide loans UAE. We've given loans to quite a few students in the UAE. Parsi Zoroastrian students I'm talking about. And of course, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, everywhere virtually, wherever the student wants to go. As long as it's a course, some credibility and is sustainable, yes, we will support. So going back to your question, yeah, extracurricular and social projects, take it into account when deciding on providing funding. So let us hear about that. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Neville. Okay, so Karen, would you like to ask your question? I know you wanted to ask. some of the questions, but maybe pick one.
Yes, so I have a question for Mr. Ravishankar. I wanted to ask that what is the role of parents in securing funding for higher education?
A very difficult question to answer, but I will try. First and foremost, to go back to what Farrokh was saying, that a lot depends on the relationship between the parents and their children who want to go abroad to study. So if they're just indulgent, then it's a different picture that we have nothing to say. But otherwise, if they are serious about raising finance and it's not an easy thing for them, they're going to dip into their savings. Some of them dip even to their provident fund. So we do get a bit worried as to whether the student is making the right choice. Because whether the choice is for a subject which will fetch them a job, which will fetch them an income, which will help them to repay, the loan scholarship. It won't just be the loan scholarship. They will have to raise money elsewhere also. Yeah. So are they choosing a course which will help them to get a job, which will pay them enough to be able to repay the whole thing? So that's something that the parent should be able to do with the children without making it appear as if that they are not willing to support the child. So you should be able to take the child into confidence that yes, we are here to support you, but is this absolutely necessary? Is this what you want to do? For example, many students want to go from graduation to a master's overseas. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. They should work for 3-4 years to then actually begin to understand what life is and what actually happens in the world of business and work. And some universities also respect work experience. And if they have done some particular area of work, they may be lucky to get an RA position. The students could encourage, parents can encourage their children to look at that. It also depends on how well informed the parents themselves are. So whatever I'm saying assumes that the parents are reasonably well informed. But if that's not the case, it's a damn difficult decision to make. And I have seen parents falling a prey to emotional bondage, and we have seen decisions going wrong. So I can only add that they have to be cautious without appearing unsupportive.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravishankar. Okay, so Zain, you're next. Do you want to ask your question, please?
Yes, sure. So thank you so much. This was a really informative webinar. So my question is directed to Mr. Ryan. So I wanted to ask, to what extent is need factored into the evaluation process?
It really depends. I'm talking from the US point of view. It really depends on the level. If you're applying for an undergraduate program in the US, that's a bachelor's. In some universities, they will look at how much the parents can afford. It's called need-based financial aid. But there are other universities at the undergraduate level that are need blind. That means they don't consider how much the parents can afford. They want the student on merit, they're going to take the student. At the graduate level, for the masters and especially for the PhDs, it's almost always going to be on merit alone and not so much on need, because they want you there to do research. So they want to know whether you can do that. And if you have the skills, that's all that really matters, not whether you need the financial aid. At the master's level, it's not always easy getting the financial aid. At the doctoral level, it's almost guaranteed in the sciences, not almost guaranteed in the sciences from the university itself. So it really depends on the level that you're studying and what you're studying as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so are there any other questions from the participants or anyone else? Or do any of the panelists would like to share anything else? Would they? Okay, so then I'm going to hand it over to Farrokh Mistry again. and to all the panelists for the closing remarks.
Thank you all. So Neville, closing statements.
Basically, yeah, follow your dreams, just what you think is for yourself. Ensure that what you decide is going into your future. That must be sustainable for you, for your family, ultimately. Really, what this is all about is this discussion on this forum is about funding, but funding alone is not going to give you the future that you want. You need to be able to select the course that you want to take. That is going to entail for the rest of your life. So my suggestion would be that you do have a look at your inner self, decide what you are passionate about doing, and to pursue it with vengeance and do whatever you need to do. And don't miss the opportunities offering. Thank you.
Ravishankar?
Yeah, I think first thing, any student, whether it is master's or PhD or postdoc, first requirement is focus. So, and the understanding that there is no subject at a very broad level. So if you're studying, say, something like, say, biology, there is really no subject called as biology today. So there is computational biology, there is synthetic biology, there is system biology, there is this biology. So you need to be very clear as to where does your interest lie and what is the level of reading that you have done so far, which will help you to say, okay, this is what I would like to do. And especially those who have interest in disciplines which have practical outcomes. And today almost many subjects have practical outcomes, even if it is economics and sociology, their policy outcomes. So focus on what specific area that will appeal to you and what is the kind of work which is being done throughout the world and which universities, what kind of professors, and with whom you would like to align. Today, even a PhD project is no longer the way it was done in the past. It's no longer just an academic project. These are your PhD will be part of an overall project funded by some company or the other. Therefore, you need to understand how you can work even on a PhD on a very narrowly defined area without knowing fully well the rest of the whole thing. That's a skill that's going to be in requirement as we proceed further in the next 5-10 years time. So to summarize, focus and define your area of interest very sharply.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to my tagline. I do like that saying a lot. You miss 100% of the shots you do not take. That's important message for you all. But I want to add a little more depth to that. When you're talking about taking risk, one shouldn't just blindly go and, hey, Mr. Pereira said, take risks, so let's do it. No, we're talking about taking calculated risks where you go in well prepared, but at the same time, do not sell yourself short. Very often we hear, or I interact with a lot of students, they'll say, there's no way I'll ever get into this dream university. I'm not good enough. Okay? That's negative thinking. Don't ever sell yourself short. I want to end by giving a word of caution about some of the scholarship resources that are out there. There are many legitimate scholarship search engines available. There are multiple sites one can use to search for scholarships online. But be cautious. A good rule of thumb to follow is that if a scholarship site requires a payment or a commitment that will result in charges later on, run away. There are plenty of good search engines that are available, and I'm going to read out two of them to you all. I'll put it in the chat. One is fastweb.com, and the other one is finaid.org. I'm going to put it in the chat. So those are authentic search engines that you all can use to search for scholarships worldwide. The other one, it would be the educationusa.state.gov website. So good luck, and I wish you all the best in your future careers.
Farrokh.
Yes, I would like to emphasize that our scholarships are meant to empower children so that they become independent individuals and help society in general. To that goal, we have helped people below the poverty line to bring them up, to give them a decent education, and we go out of our way to see that we can be of assistance to such people who are taxi drivers' children, bus conductors' children, even hawkers on the road, their children. So we do not let anybody go without proper guidance or proper funding if their interest is in education. So my emphasis is on education leads to empowerment, and we want to empower the children of those who are living below the poverty line. And therefore I say that our R.D. Setna scholarships are not just meant for people who have money to go abroad, but also to help Indian children get a break in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasti.
Hi, it was a really stimulating discussion. My pleasant job is to point you to the resources that we have. The website that we have, which is called zoroastrianfacultynetwork.org. We have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel where all our past and current sessions are recorded and put up. Everybody spoke about empowerment. Empowerment is through money that we are giving to the students. But to do what? Ultimately, it has always been said that you do what you enjoy doing rather than what you are told to do or where you will get more money. If you enjoy doing what you do, then you will never have to work for the rest of your life. That is what the objective is. And if you do something well, if you do something excellently, you will earn more money. And what will you do with it? You'll give back to society, you'll give back to the community, and you'll give back to the environment, as is mentioned in most of our resources and in most of our talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to thank Neville, Ravishankar, Ryan Pereira, Farrokh Rustomjee, Karishma Koka, Aisha, and everybody else who has participated in this webinar, including Karen, Zain, and Bispy. Because I think it's been, as others have said, an informative session. So thank you all very much. And I think the thought I'd like to leave you with is that what is the role of a university? The role of a university is to provide an opportunity for students to learn how to create economic value, social value, and intellectual value. That is an extremely, extremely important thing to recognize. So the scholarships that we've seen that are being made available here deal with encouraging our youth to either go and learn how to create economic value, learn how to create social value, or learn how to create intellectual value. And so this is the thought I want to leave you with, that we have to think in terms of the holistic individual and a holistic society, rather than thinking in terms of saying, I want my son to become a doctor and I want my daughter to become such and such. The parents need to encourage to find out what their children really need to want to learn, and then send them to the university of choice. Mera Mossad, thank you very much. He put up his hand. Maybe you'd like to have the closing comment.
Yes, first of all, thank you very, very much for inviting me for this absolutely enlightening session. I just want to share a few complementing perspectives about the outstanding philosophies you four speakers said. Neville said that the world is your oyster, open it and grab it. I like to add a statement to it. Once you grab it, make a pearl out of that oyster. So the question is, how do you make a pearl out of the oyster? Let's take a look at the wisdom that Ravishankar talked about, and he talked about uniqueness. Once you choose to build a consciousness of uniqueness, you build a life of success. And that's how you bring value to the table, because in life, in the careers, you don't get paid for your time. You always get paid for the value that you bring. That's the difference between one person working for $10 an hour and other being paid $1,000 an hour. It's the value that you bring to the table that makes a world of difference in life. Now, Ryan, you mentioned you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, I like to add something to it. Mistake is the take you miss. Don't be afraid to make a mistake in life. Having said that, I really want to share a wisdom of my grandmother that she told me when I was 5 years old, which really resonated in my life. She said, Meher, human beings make mistakes. Fools repeat their mistakes. It's okay to be human, try not to be a fool. And I have implemented that in my life, and it has worked beautifully for all my life. That has been the success of my life. Now, taking to the topic that Farrokh Rustomjee talked about, education leads to empowerment. Well, it is absolutely true that education is the lifeblood of civilization. And Farrokh, thank you very much for sharing that. And finally, Karishma, you really crystallized, and synthesized it beautifully. So thank you all for the wonderful session. God bless you all.
Thank you. So with that, Yesti, if you could stop recording, and then we will continue being on available to chat, talk to whoever would like to continue the conversation. So with that, thank you all very much. We greatly appreciate your presence, and we hope you will join us next month.